Tonight I am joined by my co-author, aka best friend, aka arch nemesis, Pat Cote, who's also known as Nate's Liver and Pat the Burner. Thanks so much for joining us, Mr. Pat.
Hey, great to be here. I think you might be the first host that ever got my last name right, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, but you came on my show for at least 10 times before you freaking told me.
Yeah, there might be a correlation to why everyone gets it wrong because I really don't care.
Well, the best was Ron Placone said Cote, which was
Hey,
really like
bougie
Cote.
brunchy.
So we are going to do this week's news essentially, um, which there's always crazy shit going on in the world of politics. Um, we can start with the most, you know, chaotic news, which is, Kamala being chosen. Um, they drug this shit out way too long. They kept naming person after person, and it was like, seeing people like Liz and Stacey Abrams just fawning over him, over Joe, just like, please pick me. It was pretty drawn out and gross. Are you were you kind of sick of all the hype?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing we knew for sure going into it is the pick would be a shitty centrist corporate neoliberal, which is why my money was always on Kamala. I mean, they picked her back in 2015, and ever since then they've hyped her up as you know you couldn't hear her name without hearing Democratic Rising Star before it, like Democratic Rising Star, Kamala Harris, Kamala Harris. I did think there was a shot that Stacey Abrams would get it because she also is one of those people that the Democratic Party has tried to make fail upwards. They gave her the counter speaking address to Trump's State of the Union after she lost her state, and then did what I think most objective people would say was a mediocre job, but the media fawned over it like crazy. And so that's usually a good clue on where the party is headed. And, how many times during the primaries did the media make a big push for Kamala Harris, So she'd get a big media push and then she'd sink and they'd put her away for a little bit. And then they'd say, well, let's try to make Kamala happen again. And they did that rinse and repeat probably 4 different times with her.
Absolutely. And, you know, the thing about Kamala is like, I did fear her at first. I'll admit straight up, like, she was the next Hillary. People were like, oh my God, yes, Queen. Like, you are, you know, everything. We need a black woman and you're perfect. And, you know, talk to anyone in California, they're not really fans like yourself. Um, but just watching the way she was number one when she first started for a while, and then the way she just completely started dropping, it was kind of exciting, but the reason she started dropping was because everyone started getting hard on for Beto, and it just kept going down the line. Like,
Right.
granted, there weren't many candidates in 2016, but it was Hillary, and it was always Hillary, and it was always going to be Hillary. This time we saw Kamala, we saw Beto, we saw Pete, we saw, it was Liz. It went down the line. It was like, well, maybe them. And Joe was like literally the last one that they started caring about. And that, you know.
Yeah, they never wanted Joe Biden to happen. I mean, it was the last resort. They would have taken all of the other candidates. I mean, non-progressive candidates. They would have taken Warren even if they could make Warren work, but they just couldn't. And Kamala ultimately, the more you research her record, the more atrocious it is. But she was sold to the public as this tough fighter, but really had the most vapid of all the answers to any unstaged, unscripted question. I mean, watch a Kamala Harris interview and ask yourself, why the hell would you pick her as your running mate?
Yeah.
I don't understand. I mean, you pick her because she's going to follow the party line. And, in all honesty, she'll probably be, assuming Joe Biden wins, somewhere midterm, she's going to take over and be the president. So here's somebody that primary voters overwhelmingly rejected, and they still kept pushing and pushing. And now they found a way to get her the presidency, really.
Yeah, and there are literally two kinds of people who are excited about it being her. Number one, people who are obsessed with identity politics, and number two, people who absolutely could not be bothered to deal with their cognitive dissonance and actually acknowledge her disgusting history. Yeah, Brad, I mean, absolutely. She couldn't win her own state's primary. She was in what, fourth or fifth? She was going to be primaried again. There was absolutely no question. And I think people think she's been in politics for like decades or something, but she hasn't.
No, and she barely won a squeaker to get into office in the first place. And we're talking about an uber democratic state. So she's not well liked. And, anyone that follows her record on social justice knows that she is a cop. I mean, when they say they like to accuse Bernie bros of, sexism, misogyny, racism, whatever you want to call it, all of it lumped into one for using the term Kamala as a cop. Well, guess what? She ran as a tough on crime cop. She called herself in her own speech California's top cop. So don't let anyone take that term away and pretend that we're giving it to her. She gave it to herself.
Absolutely. Brad, you bring up a great point. First time in U.S. history, the presumptive nominee didn't win either Iowa or New Hampshire. At the same time, Senator Sanders was the first in history to win all three. Great point.
It's amazing, really.
It's absolutely incredible. Kamala dropped out before a single primary even freaking took place. She all of a sudden she started closing down all her campaign offices, stuff like that. Some of you guys know I left Pennsylvania and I went to Iowa for 5 weeks to volunteer for Bernie. I literally did not see one Biden sign. I didn't meet one Biden person. I didn't meet any people who were bummed Kamala dropped. They were nowhere. The caucus site I was supervising wasn't even viable for Biden. There were over 900 people and you needed 123 people there to be viable, and he only had 52. So, and it was like that all across Iowa. He came in fourth.
Yeah, it's not like just because he won the primaries, he's going to get this enthusiasm. It doesn't come out of nowhere. You need people working your butts off for someone to win an election. And it should really scare people. I mean, there was just a poll. I don't know which group did it, but it compared the unfavorables and favorables of the candidates. And to put it in perspective, in 2016, Hillary was 11% more favorable than Trump. And this poll said that currently Biden is 4% more favorable than Trump. And you pair that with Nate Silver, who just yesterday released his I'm not sure if it's his first review, but he said that he gave Biden the exact same chances that Hillary had in 2016. The exact same percentage.
He sure nailed that.
Right. So, people coming into this election thinking that it's a slam dunk just because our whole country is getting destroyed by COVID, you would think, but You know, Biden should be way ahead right now, honestly, and he isn't.
Yeah, and Brad, you are absolutely correct. It was a strong fourth. I do want to clarify that's fair. Um, and Jenna, you're damn right. Democrats are straight up trash. Not people registered as Dems. Don't take that the wrong way. We mean Dems like in a position, put it that way. But yeah, I mean, just watching all of this unfold has been just a train wreck. We all kind of knew it was. I'm gonna, I admit I sound like a shit person saying this, but I was, I was upset that he picked Kamala because she's horrible for people of color and she's done horrible things. But I was also kind of bummed that I wasn't gonna get to see K High flip out because they are so awful. They are like 10 times worse than people always said the Bernie Bros were.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and that, basically her whole campaign was just doubling down on identity politics and, gaslighting people. And I mean, that's basically, I would think, why she was chosen, because you could add the racial piece to the identity, a woman card. So now you have a black woman card, and, but I mean, voters saw through it. That's why she did terribly in the primaries.
Absolutely. And I think, it's, yesterday it was trending on Twitter, um, Biden Kamala landslide. These people are nuts because they are absolutely sure that they're going to win and win by far, just like they did in 2016. And we saw how that ended. They're so in denial and so privileged that they're like, we don't even have to make a single phone call. Trump's people have made millions of phone calls and knocked on over 1 million doors. Yeah, it's a pandemic and it's stupid, but it's the point. They are devout. They are backing up their campaign. They are doing work to get him reelected. So whether you like Trump or not, the fact of the matter is, if you want to go up against him, you have to either match or do better than the action.
Yeah, you need people working for the campaign. You need enthusiasm. You know, the difference in every election is who can win the independent vote and who can get your own voters out there. And, you know, Trump holds the levers of power to manipulate people getting out there to the polls, like what we're seeing with the post office, for example. So it wouldn't take much work on his part to suppress, he has more power to suppress Democratic voters than Democrats have to suppress Republican voters. Joy, did we lose you? Joy. Uh-oh. Hello, Joy. Well, that's not good. Let's see. What can I talk about while we're waiting on Joy? Markey versus Joe Kennedy. That's good news. Right now, I did notice that the latest poll has Markey at 51%, Kennedy at 36%. Um, so that's good. I'm logging out and coming back in, apparently. See you in a second. And we're back.
Oh my God, you guys, I'm so sorry. So let me just interject and say this. Let me just kind of vent. Um, so after over 3 years, I started a Patreon. I have never taken a single penny for any of the shows I've done, any of the places I traveled to bring, events to you, over 3 years. Now, I finally started a Patreon. I have no one on it, and you can start at as little as $3 a month. Um, Now, the thing is, I have no microphone. This computer is over 10 years old. Shit like that keeps happening. I spend over $400 a year just on my streaming service alone. And, my fear is that I can't keep doing this show unless I have some help. I mean, honestly, and that's not made to make anyone feel guilty. It's just, I look at Patreon and I see some of these people getting like $100,000 a year and just for their shows. And I'm like, what the fuck? So it's important that everybody also supports the smaller shows, so to speak. Because I've been doing this over 3 years and I love to do it. It just gets really frustrating when stuff like this happens, especially when I have a guest. Rant over. Okay, so anyway, what were we saying? I have a poker face. Yeah, it's almost like the screen froze. Continue, Pat. What were you saying?
Let's see. Oh, I was just killing some time with some stats about Markey doing better than Joe Kennedy, which is obviously great news because Joe Kennedy is a really shitty person for trying to take out the most progressive senator we have right now, most likely. So he's going to lose that race, we hope. It's next week, right? Isn't it coming up?
It is. And another important race on Tuesday is Jen Perlman, who I've had on twice. She is up against Debbie Wasserman Schill. And that's pretty damn huge. Can it work? I don't know, because they always cheat. I had Tim Canova on 4 times. I know all their tricks. We all know all their tricks. So is she going to win? I don't know, but I sure as hell hope so. I have more hope this time just because she's a woman, and I think that sometimes people are like, well, we'll vote for the incumbent because she's a woman, that kind of garbage. So I think it's very, I'm hopeful Jen can win. Let's put it this way. If it's fair, Jen's going to crush it.
Yeah, but we both know if there's one person that's going to give you maximum fuckery, it's Debbie Wasserman Schultz. I mean, she had to drop out when WikiLeaks revealed that she was putting the thumb on the scales for Hillary, which was no secret. But then in her own election against Canova, they got just, they litigated it in court and were found to have destroyed ballots against a court order. And there's no punishment for her. She wins again. She wins again. She wins again. Like, really? Is that how it works? Usually when you're exposed for especially election tampering in different ways, you lose your race, but somehow she manages to still win.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, you literally were forced to resign from the DNC, got a job 2 hours later for Hillary, and then won your race 2 more times. You literally were forced to resign from the party you're running under. People just, I don't know if people don't know the history of people, or I don't freaking know. It just blows my mind. Oh, thank you so much. On Patreon, it's Joy Marie Man. Thank you. You guys are awesome. Yeah, there are donations during the shows, but that's why I put this at the bottom, because a lot of people don't realize that the any donations you do during my show go to Uphill Media. They don't go to me. So that's why I wanted to make that little ticker tape, because a lot of times people think it, they do it thinking it'll go to me. But regardless, thank you so much.
We got to get you up to a Windows 95 laptop.
Do what?
We have to upgrade you to a Windows 95 laptop or something.
That probably would. Listen, this is a Dell computer that's over 10 years old. Dell. Do they even make those anymore? I don't know if they do, but you know what? I will do what I have to do. I'll do it on my damn phone if I have to. What else is going on, Pat?
Let's see. There was the powerhouse that is the Democratic Party is on recess until September 9th, so there won't be any stimulus package for a few weeks. Yeah.
That is very, very, very terrifying. I know for myself, like a lot of you guys know, I lost the majority of my eyesight unexpectedly last year. So it's, I unexpectedly lost my job and everything like that. So my disability is on appeal right now. I have zero income for the first time in my life. I'm 41. So I've had an income. I've had a paycheck for over 20 years. And now all of a sudden my eyesight is, majority of it's gone. So I'm one of millions who are like, wow, I have no income. And this $1,200 was shit, but it helped. Another one would help. I mean, it's not great, but so,
right.
I'm my heart breaks for people who even have it worse. I mean, my husband has a job, so it could be so much worse. But Pat, I mean, what are your thoughts just seeing so many people setting up GoFundMe and stuff because they're going to be evicted and they have kids?
Yeah, I mean, you've got, 60 million people are going to be losing their jobs. We're probably close to that number now, based on, from the pandemic. So healthcare is tied to your jobs in this country. And obviously, Joe Biden's plan is insufficient. It doesn't change that core dynamic of your employment being the source for your healthcare. And to not lobby for that in the middle of a pandemic is ridiculous. And, the thing that Democrats like to do is say, well, we can't control it. We don't control the Senate. Well, that's obviously true. But you have the power to withhold your vote for everything they want to get passed. You also have the access to the media to promote any sort of action that the public can get behind to rally for support to get this check out there. Do you see them do that? They'll go on MSNBC once in a while, but it's not like a concerted marketing PR campaign to the public to rally people against, their message is, well, then vote in November. Like, voting in November is not going to solve things. Like, I mean, it's one thing you can do, but voting is not going to change anything in the next few months for people. So they really need to be out there acting more Bernie-like. And I'd like to see Bernie acting a little more Bernie-like, but that's, he's taking it as big of a backseat as he thinks he needs to help Joe get elected. But it's unfortunate.
Absolutely. It's pretty heartbreaking to watch. Even, my hero of 5 years is not being the man that we thought he was and that we know he can be. Um, it's pretty heartbreaking. We're all in so much pain right now for different reasons, and you know, the crazy thing is we're all talking about people losing their homes, and then they made a VP who literally is responsible for like kicking out thousands of people from their homes.
Right. And I mean, just as a reminder, she's the one who refused, against her staff's advice when she was AG, to prosecute Steve Mnuchin for his part in all the predatory loans when the housing market crashed. So, between that and her whole policy, her whole platform up until she ran for office was very tough on crime. So meshing that with the Black Lives Movement in the streets now, the two don't really fit. So she's evolved in all those positions to the right positions now, but it's just not a natural fit for her. It's basically, I mean, she's pretty Republican. And they try to sell her as like the most progressive in the Senate, and it's just ridiculous. She's not. She's good at pre-planned outrage, Trump is bad things, sound bites, scripted moments. That's it.
Absolutely. One of the things that not a lot of people know, one of the articles that stands out to me the most with Kamala, and there was a video in the article as well, which is very like trigger warning for a lot of people. She actually represented over 80 pedo priests who had assaulted children, and many of the victims begged her to release the names of the pedo priests, and she kept them all private, all 80 something of them. And a few of them made a video and said, we begged her. I mean, and she didn't release any of them, and here's the kicker, some of them are still priests today. So not only is Kamala responsible for them still being priests, but for them likely doing it to other children.
Right. And that's a story that a lot of Californians know, but it hasn't become mainstream at all. And we're in the same position as we are with Biden. The media shields everyone from these records, but they inevitably will come out in the general election. So, we need to get back to a media that actually vets candidates, because if you have some bad decisions on your record, when you're AG and prosecutor, you're going to have some cases that aren't going to go over well with the public. But the primaries are your opportunity to get past that, and you come out stronger because you overcame that issue. You won't have that opportunity when it's a month before the election and all this stuff comes out about you covering up for pedophile priests.
Absolutely. The woman, her name is Ava, the woman who did the documentary 13, she came out today. Now, she's known as a Black hero to so many people because the documentary 13th is about the 13th Amendment. It's a very very important topic, and it deals with racism and history, things like that. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, your screen's frozen, but I can hear you.
Oh my. I need a new computer. But she was on today, and let me see if I can read this screenshot. People are just flipping out about it, deservedly, because she's someone who people respect for civil rights and things like that. And we're seeing so many people walk back, so many people we love and respect, just completely walk back everything. Can you
Yeah.
still hear me?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So this is from Ava. There is no debate anymore. There's no room for it in my book. We either make this happen or literally more of us perish. People are dying. Someone I love died. The virus is real. It hasn't visited your doorstep. It will. Oh, but Kamala did this or she didn't do that. I hear you. I know. And I don't care. Because what she didn't do is abandon citizens in a pandemic, rip babies from their mother's arms at the border. Joe Biden did. Save federal troops to terrorize protesters, manufacture new ways to suppress black and brown votes, actively disrespect indigenous people and land. Joe did. Traffic in white supremacist rhetoric. And she goes on and on and on. And then says, I mean, that's what she didn't do. So I don't want to hear anything bad about her. It doesn't matter to me. Vote them in and let's hold them accountable. Anything other than that is insanity. It's ego. It's against our elders. It's nonsense. It's talking to hear yourself talk. This is a matter of life or death. We need all our energy focused. This is a fight for more than can be expressed here. There is no debate anymore. Vote Blue 2020.
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
obviously, the problem with that is that, sure, I mean, the simple thing is that Joe Biden created all these institutional problems we have. I mean, he's not an overt racist that's disgusting in our faces like Trump is, but he wrote the crime bill. He told everyone he was the author of the Patriot Act. He really wasn't, but his mindset was the basis for the legislation years before it became a reality. Uh, you know, he and Obama expanded the militarization of police forces. I mean, kids in cages, that was Obama. Sorry. I mean, Trump abused it, but, you got all these Democrats expanding the powers of Trump, this alleged lunatic. He is a lunatic a little bit, but, you don't expand his powers. You curtail them as much as possible. You don't give him a bigger military budget than he asked for if he's such a threat to humanity. But anyway, but back to the problem with her statement is that, okay, if you're going to elect Biden, the only way as a progressive I can justify it is that everyone knows what they're getting by the time they get him, because you can't just hold his feet to the fire to not be Trump. She's not even talking about a single thing that needs to be done to help the country. It's just he won't be Trump. We get that. But you got something like 900 Bernie delegates refusing to sign off on the platform because they won't add Medicare for all. Well, it's something like 85% of Democrats now support Medicare for all. You don't get that percentage for any issue. There's 85% of people, won't agree that dogs are good animals. I mean, I don't even know what to say, but like 85% is not. Nothing gets that high a number. Everybody in the country now gets that we need Medicare for all, except for the Democratic leadership.
absolutely, in the middle of a pandemic. And the one of the grossest things is that not just people like Pelosi are so just capitalist to their bones and so greedy and selfish. The fact of the matter is they're already millionaires. That's the worst part. Like, these people aren't doing these things with the hopes of getting rich. Like, they're literally already so rich that they can't even spend all of their money because it's so much. They just store it in offshore bank accounts and stuff, but then they want more, 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 and we're sacrificial to them. Yeah, so we can't have health care and people are dying in the streets. Oh, well, they still get more money from insurance companies. They have no conscience. at all. They are the super predators. They are.
100%. I mean, you've got, like was it last week? It, they put forward a bill about, instead of fighting the evictions, it was creating a fund to help people getting evicted get lawyers. So
Yep.
basically, it's a handout to insurance company, insurance lawyers. I mean, and it's not going to solve anyone's problem because, at the end of the day, you can't fight getting evicted if it's, I mean, you have to change the rules about getting evicted. Like having a lawyer saying, well, there's no argument to keep someone in a place that they haven't paid rent for 4 months legally. It's just absurd.
Absolutely. So while you're living on the street, you'll have a lawyer. Now, the case may not totally go to court, or it may take a few months to get there, but rest assured, as you're sleeping on the streets, you have a little bit of hope that maybe one day something may happen. It's worse than breadcrumbs. It's literally, like Miss Nina said, like half a bowl of shit. Like, if
I
that.
love her for that.
What's that?
You got to love her for that.
Oh my God. Speaking of Miss Nina, oh, that's right, Pat. I'm gonna brag. I'm gonna brag. So Nina freaking Turner asked Pat and I to come on her podcast. Hello, somebody. So we will be going on Thursday to talk about our book. Yes. Talk about a dream.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, really.
It's pretty freaking insane. So yeah, so we'll get to our book a little later, but I just had to say that because like Nina Turner. But anyway, so I'm looking at the comments, and I apologize if I say this wrong. It looks like knees. You are absolutely correct. Obama gassed Occupy Wall Street, people. He also gassed Standing Rock, and said, let's see how this plays out. Like, really? They were literally dressed in full, riot gear, and coming up on these indigenous peoples in prayer circles, who literally just wanted to drink clean water. So Pat, what's your thought when you think, that people just kind of like refuse to believe this, or that they know this and they're just pretending not to, or what do you think?
I mean, it's a mix of both, but the media definitely did not cover any of it under Obama. And that's kind of the fear with Biden. I mean, they don't want to cover it, what's happening in the streets now under Trump. So wait till Biden is president. They're really going to suppress any protest coverage.
Yeah, and that's why I'm so damn glad to be part of independent media, because if it wasn't for independent media, we wouldn't know half the shit that went on in 2016. That's for sure. It's absolutely crazy. I do have a terrible fear that if Biden wins, and I do mean if, I am very worried, with the amount of people who keep saying, let's go back to normal, incredibly privileged. I'm worried that they'll start leaving the streets. They'll go home. They won't think that, Black Lives Matter is as pressing as it is now. Things like that. What do you think, Pat? Are you kind of trepidatious that's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The fear is, half the people supporting what's happening in the streets do tune out. For one, they're going to be fatigued after months and months of this by November. I mean, people are going to emotionally want to take a break from some of it. But on the other hand, where I'm optimistic is that you've got you got a situation that probably isn't going to be improved much by November. So if things continue, you're going to have a lot of people still out of work, you know, a lot of people really feeling the pressure of losing their health care, trying to stay afloat, paying Cobra, which is, you know, twice the cost of Obamacare. Completely unaffordable solution. When you lose your job, you go on Cobra, and it's 2, 3, 4 times higher than what you're paying before for your healthcare for the same coverage. So people aren't going to be able to sustain that, and so you've got 50 million people now that have lost their jobs. November is 3 months away, or 4 months, I don't know, something like that, and it's going to be worse for those people. So those people they're going to see that, you know, even if Biden wins, they're going to look at what Biden is offering and realize that's not enough. You know, so the Democratic Party is going to have to get behind Medicare for all. It's just the only solution that's going to do anything for people in the streets. And you're going to have to forgive a lot of medical debt. You know, the economy is going to need a boost too, and the way you boost that is you eliminate a lot of student loan debt, you eliminate a lot of medical debt, you give people health care coverage. That's the basics. If you don't provide that, some of that, nobody should get out of the streets. I mean, you got to keep fighting.
Celeste, you brought up Aisha. I've had her on my show a few times. You're right. If you guys want any threads on Obama or Clinton or Bush, or, I mean, she is like your place to go. It's at Esha Legal, ESHA. So yeah, I've had her on a few times and met her at an event. So yeah, she's definitely an excellent read. She has tons of receipts on all things foreign policy and related as such. Pat, what is there a part of you, I'm putting you on the spot, is there a part of you that kind of like will be happy if Biden wins because you get to watch all these people realize that like nothing's gonna change?
There's not much to be happy about electorally. I mean, so,
yeah,
you know, I honestly toggle back and forth, like I think a lot of progressives do. Like, what's the best way forward? You know, I mean, the argument is accelerationist, you know, speeding it up and having Trump and everyone seeing how terrible it is and how broken the system is. You know, in some ways that might be a better, faster path to changing the system than Biden. I mean, we're not going to be able to push Biden. That's just a complete myth. We might be able to scare the shit out of enough Democrats that, you know, the guillotines are real or something, that we get some change, but we're not going to do it by writing letters to our congressman saying, gee, we really want Biden to get on board and let's convince Biden Medicare for all is good. And, you know, we need to protest, and the protests need to be, I want to say, a little ugly. If they aren't, they don't get coverage. I mean, I'm for peaceful protests, of course, but you know, the only thing that gets covered is yeah. Anyway, I don't want to say any more on that, but
they already have their backup plan. It's already Russia, Russia, Russia. They're bringing it all back. Not that it all totally left, but they are bringing a lot of it back. And if people think they're not setting it up as a just in case, they're in denial, because they know there's a really good chance Joe can lose. And they want to kind of have that, you know, set there just in case. But I think a lot of people may be in for a rude awakening in November, because I believe there is a true chance he can lose. I really do. And, you know, honestly, we saw in 2016 and we're seeing now, the establishment Dems don't care either way. They're not trying to win. They're like, if we win, cool. But Trump's the best thing that ever happened to us, because everything we say and do, all we have to do is say, but Trump, and everyone clamors, and they're like, oh, Dems are so great. Dems are the best. Dems are the best. and they ride on that. That's their biggest fundraising is but Trump. That's, their biggest email subscriptions is but Trump. You take Trump out of the equation, they're not going to look as great in comparison, and they're likely concerned about that.
Yeah, I mean, and what people don't realize is that how we're framing the election right now is not going to be what it looks like in a month. Um, Trump still has the opportunity to run left of Joe Biden on healthcare. I mean, it'll all be a lie and promising some stuff that'll never happen, but he has no principles. So obviously he has no qualms about saying, in my second term, everyone's going to have free healthcare. He could do that tomorrow. They would be bullshit, but his people would buy it and suddenly think healthcare for everyone is a good idea.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Can you still hear me? I see I'm frozen.
Yep.
Um, that's another thing we can discuss. You see all the Dems who have been, Bernie's not even a Democrat, like praising, W and Kasich, and all the Republicans who are coming out for Joe Biden are huge heroes. But Bernie's not even a Democrat. They're having Republicans speak at the freaking convention, like
So
at
yeah,
the Democratic convention.
to have Kasich there is the biggest insult. I mean, the guy has done more to stop abortions in his own state than anyone. He's a union buster, and he comes across on the surface, if you don't look into his record, as a pretty friendly, agreeable guy. And the problem is, the Republican Party is going to want to go, say Trump loses and Biden wins. Well, now you've just given Kasich a platform that he's more Democratic friendly than Trump was. So he's going to be possibly where they bounce back if they lose under Trump. They'll reform to a kinder, more centristy feeling party. I mean, or they'll double down and you'll get a worse Trump. But for the Democrats to rebuild his image by giving him this stage and say, well, he's a pretty good guy all in all. Here's a guy that is against basically everything the party is supposed to stand for. It's just incredible that they would rebuild his stock. I just don't get it. I mean, it's because they're trying to appeal to Republican voters, but the long-term effect of it is really stupid.
Yeah, absolutely. This, it's when people, we see these things all the time, like, just get them elected, and then, then they'll move left. What leverage do you have? They're already elected. We see people like Obama, who we all thought were progressive when we voted for him, and then he changed, but in the bad way. So people don't just move left. If we're saying we will not vote for you unless you give us Medicare for all, and you're not giving it to us, we have no other leverage. Like,
now
we have
is
nothing.
our only leverage period exists now by withholding support unless we get real commitments on issues that matter, like Medicare for all.
Absolutely. Oh my God, Jenna, I freaking saw, oh my God, that shit's funny as hell. HRC deleted the link for Kasich. The Kasich page on their website. Oh my God, the Human Rights Campaign, that is.
Gotcha.
So freaking hilarious. Because why? Because he had all these violations. He tried to defund Planned Parenthood and stuff like that. They took down the page. They took down that link on their page. Human rights, but you're taking down the page. Well, they're a shit organization anyway, because they've endorsed like people like Hillary, who, I've met people from Haiti who have protested her, and she is not a human rights person. That's for damn sure. So I digress, but one of the things that I wanted to discuss, and I'm not sure if you guys all saw this because it's on Twitter, and I know some of you guys are more Facebook, but there was this little 5-year-old boy, and his name was Cannon. That was his first name. Um, and so he's 5, and he was out in his neighborhood riding his little bike, and a guy shot him in the head. And this just happened a few days ago. On Twitter, it's trending, say his name. So you go to look at it and you realize he's a white kid, and the man who shot him is black. So there are tons of racists who are using this little 5-year-old's death as a political tool to call so-called hypocrisy in Black Lives Matter. They're saying everyone should be in the streets because of this 5-year-old boy, because a black person murdered him. All of these things, it's just, it is like the ultimate, white faux outrage, just politicizing this poor baby's death. So yeah, I mean, if you have Twitter and you search say his name, I clicked on it thinking there was another police murder of a black man. That's why I clicked on it. And that's not what I got. So just, be aware that people are definitely using that little boy's death to be anti Black Lives Matter. Pat, did you see any of that?
No, I haven't gotten to see that yet, but I mean, it doesn't surprise me. The white supremacists will hop on and try to make any issue, a reason to start a race war. But I mean, it's obviously nothing. It's not born out of any systemic issues, so it has nothing in common with Black Lives Matter movement whatsoever.
Yeah, and so I did see one comment about AOC getting 60 seconds at the DNC, but here's the thing: a lot of people don't realize it's going to be a recorded message. It's going to be pre-recorded. She's not going to be there. It's not going to be live. They are having her pre-record something 60 seconds. Now, that is a million times worse. And the reason being, they're going to be able to say, not using this. Nope, too radical, whatever. And they're going to be able to edit it. So people have this like huge hope that she's just going to go and throw down and be like, you know what? DNC needs to be more progressive or something. Ain't going to happen. It's pre-recorded.
The whole convention is going to be a scripted moment. It's just a big, long commercial. However long it is on TV will be just an advertisement.
I don't even know if it's going to be on TV. I've heard mixed things. But yeah, I mean, I can't watch even a second of it, and especially when Bernie's on, because he's just breaking my heart so bad as it is. Yes, Dave, Miss Nina speaking at the Movement for a People's Party with Brother Cornell. So speaking of MPP, Nick Brana is coming on my show the 21st of this month, so he'll be coming on right before the event. So we'll talk a lot about that and, how he got them on board, things like that, what it's all about, what we can consider for the future. I did also see someone mention Mark Charles. He is the independent presidential candidate. He will be joining me on Monday. And he's a native gentleman, and he focuses a lot on indigenous policy. So I'm really looking forward to him. And Mike Figueredo, my buddy from Humanist Report. He is coming on. It'll be our 7th show together on the 25th. He has some big news he's going to be sharing. And so I'm looking forward to that. Can't think of anything else right now, but so we decided that Thursdays, I never have a set schedule with shows. And people always ask me, you should do at least one day a week where we know you're going to have a show. So we're going to do that. So now every Thursday will be a this week's news type thing. And it's going to be with Pat. So he is going to be my partner in crime. Every Thursday, we'll do a show like this about, what's going on during the week, things like that. So every Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern, he begged me. I gave in, and I just said, yeah, why not? So.
Well, I'm stoked to do it. I've never been a regular on a show like that. I've covered some of the debates with a few other crews, but this was kind of a last minute. We just came up with this idea, so
today.
Yeah. So future shows, I'll do some more prepping and add a little more to it, I think. But I'm excited because I think we work well together. So should be fun.
Yes. Well, we wrote a book together. So let's talk a little bit about that. So our book has been sent to the printer. It's about 140 pages. So it's lengthy, as she said. But it's, let's see. So it's a resistance parody. And some of our characters are Alyssa Shalano, Nancy Pagosi, Jennifer Poubin, Joyanne Greed. Who else we got? Soledado Lyon, Chris Badviews.
James Scarville.
Yeah, James Scarville. And the most important protagonist is Nina Burner. So she holds it all down, but there's a lot of unscheduled guests throughout the book, both good and bad. Good and bad. So we had so much fun writing it. It's been very cathartic for both of us. Oh my God, J.K. Renee. No, nobody said she's not in this one. She said Deborah Messy. Dude, really? Yes. I had to just I had to just say, yep. No, we got all your favorite shit libs. Near a Tantrum. They're all in there. So, it was very cathartic to actually just call these people out and, just expose what, how pathetic and privileged so many of them are, but to do it in a way that makes people laugh. We've been getting some, really good feedback. So that's definitely exciting. Pat, what do you, and there's 2 interesting things about the book. Number 1, Pat and I have never met in person. So we've written the entire book on the phone. And number 2, I am mostly blind. So we wrote the book as doing it verbally and then Pat reading back what we've written, so to speak. So it's pretty amazing that we finished the book and we're so happy with it. Pat, what do you think that there seems to be some people just learning about this book in the comments? I feel like we should do a coupon and for tonight. What do you think?
Yeah, I'll make one up. Let's see. Somebody give me a code. Well, Deborah Messy, just so we'll make the code Deborah. or is that too complicated?
No, let's do
spell it wrong. Spell it wrong.
S&P, Salt and Pepper, Savage and Pat.
And now I'm not sure if I can put in the symbol and, so let's keep going.
Oh, what word can we make the coupon promo, you guys?
Someone come up with something. All right, let's just make it left. LEFT. That's easy enough.
So if you enter left on our book site within the next 48 hours, we will give you $2 off the book. And like I said, they are printing. So it will be, oh, I'm sorry, JK Renee. I knew someone was going to say that. I'm sorry. You could go to savageandpat.com and you'll see our character list. You'll see a lot of, quotes from people like Mike Figueredo and Ron Flacco and Graham Elwood, some props from some great people, and some other interviews we did. Use your favorite safe word. I have so many to choose from. I just don't know. Oh my God, I love you guys so freaking much. I can't even. Well, Anthony, whatever you want the message to be is fine. I mean, Pat got a request for Brad. I like it. I like it. His safe word is keep going. I might have to steal that.
That's a whole other type of show, Joy.
They know what to expect from me. Now I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh yeah, the message. So we've gotten some interesting ones. A guy told me to make it out to a real fart sniffer. That was interesting. Pat got one that asked for a joke about bukkake. So whatever you want.
Yeah. So if you pre-order it, because we'll have the books pretty soon, we're hoping. I mean, it's a little backed up in shipping, but it's at the printers now. But if you pre-order, one of us will sign it, and you can put whatever message you want, and we'll dedicate it. Once we're selling them regularly, we're probably not going to be doing the signatures and that kind of stuff. And I know my signature adds like at least a nickel or a dime or so to the value.
I think our signatures give it at least another quarter. And with the $2 off coupon, like, you guys are set.
You're making money.
Yeah, exactly. And our books are printed Amazon free. They are being printed independently. So that's, something we're very, very proud of. So yeah, if you want to go to savageandpat.com, enter code LEFT, LEFT, for $2 off. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. And like I said, I have some great shows coming up the next few weeks. I wanted a virgin copy, but Pat wouldn't let me. What's that mean?
I don't know. No idea.
You're getting red. I love it. All right, guys. Thank you so much. You guys are the freaking best. I just love you to pieces. Take care. And if you don't follow me on Twitter yet, it's at SavageJoyMarie1. And Pat, you want to give your two Twitters?
At Pat the Burner, and then at Silly Rabbit, which is SILE Rabbit.
All right, sounds good. Sorry about the tech issues, guys, but thank you so much. Much love.